to Mrs. Peach Thrifty Living. I'm so happy you're here today. Today is another glimpse in my life. This is episode 30. So if you haven't watched any of them, you're welcome to go back in my playlist and start at one and just catch up with my life. I'm not even up to the present yet. Before I get started, I just want to thank everyone that watches this video. And if you have not subscribed yet, I hope you will subscribe, like, comment, and share. So many times I look at the little, my little report card from YouTube, I guess you could call it. I don't know who's watching it, how long or whatever, but I want to thank you if you stayed to the end and watched the whole video. Be sure and go back and check all of my other videos. There's lots of them. And I want to welcome you if you're new, and I want to thank you for watching the ones that have come and been a part of my channel. I thank you all. Wherever you are on this journey with me, I appreciate it. With that being said, let's get into a glimpse of my life. And forgive me if I go back just a little bit most of the time on these videos and get started at a point. I have to decide where to start in the last video, I told you about Richard getting his kidney transplant in our week in San Francisco, and how we got home, our dear friends coming and driving us home from San Francisco. What a blessing that was. And then in the week following that, he had a doctor's appointment there in San Francisco. Our friends ended up taking us to that. I think it was Dave and Laura. Locally, our kidney doctor had been working hand in hand with them as far as keeping up with all the records. So we followed up with him often. And then there was a team that was from San Francisco that would come to another town very close to us. And we would go down there, and he would follow up with the team of doctors that did the surgery for him. So there was a lot of follow-up, a lot of blood work, and a lot of keeping up with making sure everything was right on. If I did not mention this before, and I'm sure I did along the way, the program he signed up for a kidney was for people to give their kidney was people older than 50 years old. They were older people, and of course 50 is really young, but a lot of older people, like 60s, 70s, they may have one thing wrong with them and their kidney would be perfect. So these people can sign up. You can sign up to be a donor for all kinds of things. So, if you're interested in that, you can check around and sign up for it. It's a very worthy cause. Gave Richard 12 more years of life, and that was such a blessing to our family. This is the part that Richard always said afterwards. He said, I remember when I was under, getting his kidney transplant. He says, I remember them talking about the person that he got his kidney from. They said it was a young man that had a motorcycle accident, well under 50 years old. And they was talking about how sad it was for, him to lose his life. Now, whether that actually happened, I cannot tell you this. But Richard always said this happened and that he heard him. And so we just always believed that was so. I don't know. I've never been under like that, so I can't tell you what you hear and what you don't hear. But he says he heard that. After some time, they told us we could write a letter to the donor's family. And we did. We sent a note telling, of course, we could not tell our names or anything, but we told about his life and what he liked and what he did, and, him being a grandpa and all these kind of things, anything we thought they would find interesting about a person. that was living because of their loss. I want to thank them every day, and I want to thank everybody else that has been a donor. Another relative of ours lost their son. He was very young, and they donated 2 or 3 of his organs to different ones. What a blessing that was. And to give life to another person. So that was thrown in. That was not in my notes, but I just was thinking of that. Right. We sent our heartfelt condolences to them, and I pray they got some comfort out of that. In the meantime, Richard was getting stronger and could work more in the yard and do more and more. He always needed rest and naps, and there was a lot of time going to doctors and keeping up with the health parts of his living. I continued on with my American greetings. I did that for a few years. I had 2 or 3 stores, and I was busy doing that. In the fall of that year, we was able to go away for our wedding anniversary. We always went up to the hills. I always call them up to the hills because we're down here. But, you know, it's not too far. You can go to all these little towns that have Airbnbs or little hotels or whatever. Or we would go to the ocean to Fort Bragg normally. And we would stay there. And so we was able to go away that time. It was so nice not to have to worry about finding a place to go get dialysis. That was a blessing in itself. Life went on. We continued to work in our church, spend time with our family, just the maintenance of life. You know, there's always something to do when you own a house, taking care of it, painting this, painting that. As Richard got stronger, I would say, I sure would like to have a shelf put right there or talk about something like that. And next thing I know, he'd be in there doing it. He was like that. He didn't let any time waste between what I wanted, you know, within reason. Just simple things. Or like a picture moved, or let's move this from here to there, or whatever. You notice the way I said, let's move it, and then he did it. Of course, I stood there and supervised the job. Backing up just a little bit before this, about a month before Richard got his transplant, my mom passed away. My dad had been gone for a few years at this point. And she lived alone next door to my brother. Our back fences went into each other's yard. And so she was alone, but we was there real close to her. But she got to where she couldn't be by herself anymore. She did not want to move in with her children. And of course, her children all had lives of their own and did not want to move in with her. It became more apparent that she could not be by herself anymore. And we started looking for alternatives to that. And we found a wonderful assisted living, wonderful place not too far from us. And we all looked at it and talked to Mama, and that was agreed that she would be moving in there. It was a little studio apartment. She was able to take her cat with her. She was able to have her most favorite things, like her desk, and she had her computer. She emailed people. She was 90, in her 90s, and that was nice. She was able to take her own bed. Just many things she was able to do that made it her little home. And that was extra special. My brother and I would take turns every Sunday going and getting her and bringing her to church, to her church. You know, we went to a different church. But that Sunday I would take her to her church and spend time with her, bring her home. would have lunch together, and then later in the afternoon, I would take her home. So that worked out very well, and she did really good there. You know, those places are not cheap, so way expensive, and thankfully my brother was there to take care of her finances, that knew how long she had the money to do this, because like I say, it's not cheap. And we didn't want to sell her home till we had to, or whatever we did, because the hope was that it would be left to my sisters, since we had already gotten her inheritance basically from them before. During all this time, I continued also to be a member of TOPS, Take Off Pounds Sensibly. I decided a long time ago I needed to do something, and I never was way overweight. I think my highest maybe would have been 173 or right around that. And so I had been, before that, went to Weight Watchers, and then after that I went to TOPS, and I've been there for, I've lost count. I'd have to look way back, but many years, and I'm still there. And of course now I'm the leader, but that's by default, because you know, the pandemic and all those kind of things. Well, I really got off the subject today. I hope this makes sense. So we'll see what happens and see if it even videoed. We'll check this out. I hope you enjoyed that. More to say in the next time. I hope you'll come back and join me. If you enjoyed this, please go back and watch. And I pray God blesses you. You know, during all this time, Jesus has been with us, and we thank the Lord for that. And I pray Jesus is with you and your family. Come back and join me next time, and God bless you special.